And this is mostly the capital regions, where we see that these regions are doing enormously well. They are the growth poles almost in all member states, followed by a couple of other regions. But majority of the regions in Europe are actually either stagnating or lagging behind. And this is something which in a way creates a lot of inequalities and a lot of problems. So this is something which we need to address. We need to see how we help those regions which are not doing very well to keep pace, or to in a way boost their innovation performance, which then leads to their better productivity and competitiveness. So when we were discussing what to change in the future period, we asked a lot of questions, as you can see. Many of them really have a lot to do with how to address innovation diffusion, how to help regions strengthen their innovation ecosystems, how to make them in a way work better with their neighbors, how to align our policies with other support policies like Horizon Europe or InvestEU, and also how to address some challenges which we see in a way appearing in the past year. Globalization, participation in global value chains, or industrial transition. And by industrial transition, we mean a lot of things, not only in a way dealing with the history of decline of past industries, such as coal or steel or textile, but also the transition which is happening now, transition to digital economy, more connected world, where you can clearly see that some regions are catching up and doing very well, whereas others do not. So, as you can see, a lot of questions to address. We think that in a way the proposal of the Commission reflects the questions and hopefully also addresses the challenges. What we did as a change for smart specialization is that we have enlarged the scope of the strategy. So it's no longer a strategy only for research and innovation as it was in the current period, but it also includes support for digitalization, for SME competitiveness, and for skills. The enabling condition, which is linked to that, is not going to be checked only at the beginning of the programming period, as it was as it happened this time round, but it will be an ongoing assessment. If we see that there are problems and issues, we will go back to the member states and we will start asking questions whether everything is still working as it should. And the enabling condition has also much bigger number of criteria to fulfill, so that really the strategy is fit for purpose, that it addresses the issues which we are raising. How does it look in practice? This is the proposal for the Policy Objective 1 under Cohesion Policy, Smarter Europe by promoting innovative and smart economic transformation. And as you can see, the areas are clearly there. We have enhancing research and innovation capacities and uptake of advanced technologies as one area of support, and this basically copies what was done in the current programming period under thematic objective 1. But we have added digitalization, where we mainly are looking to support digitalization of industry. But if there are good projects which can help boost productivity and competitiveness and innovation diffusion in the member states through e-government, then we will gladly support that as well. We have SME competitiveness, startups, scale-ups, spin-offs, advanced services for SMEs, access to finance and all that. And we have also added skills. This is for the first time that skills are actually going to be supported under the European Regional Development Fund. Until now, you always had to go to the European Social Fund to be able to finance that part, but we really wanted to be able to support the projects as a whole. And our idea for support of skills is really skills for particular companies, being able to support, for example, if they purchase a new technology, 3D printing machine, that they can also train their employees in using it, and they do not have to ask for that support somewhere else, but they have it as a one single package. And as a very new instrument, we have also introduced interregional innovation investments under European territorial cooperation, and I will get to that a little bit later. On the enabling condition, as you can see, we are now working with 7 criteria of the enabling condition instead of 4, as it was in the current period, but majority stays the same. How we in the Commission look at this enabling condition is basically division into sort of so-called hard criteria and soft criteria. By hard criteria, I mean those where we will be, let's say, very tough when we will assess whether the member states are whether the member states are fulfilling the enabling condition. And this is something which was in principle supposed to be already in place in the current period. It's the existence of competent regional or national body which is governing the strategy, its provisions for monitoring and evaluation, and its effective functioning of entrepreneurial discovery system. These criteria 2, 3, and 4, are really the key for us. We see them very much interlinked. I don't think that one can work without the other. And it's something which should lead the process. It's really about governance, about functionality of the process, because we see that the strategies are working in regions or member states when these basic elements of the process are working, where people meet, they discuss priorities, they discuss what is changing, they have a clear mandate to actually act on these changes or on the decisions being taken, and they have monitoring and evaluation tools to inform these decisions. So this is something which is very, very crucial, and where we will be tough when we will discuss with the member states or the regions. The rest of the criteria are new, and there we will be, I would say, more relaxed. We see them more as a possibility of discussion, of starting a clever discussion with the member states whether their strategy addresses these issues. So we would really like to see an updated analysis of bottlenecks of innovation diffusion, to basically see whether the member states or regions are asking the basic questions. Are my research and innovation support agencies working? Are they doing a proper job? What's happening with technology transfer in my region? Is it working, or is it something I need to adjust? So this is something which, in principle, we would really like to have an interactive discussion with the member states, and to see how we can help also address these issues from our level, because we see a lot of good examples around Europe and we can help quite a lot. On actions necessary to improve national and regional innovation systems, this is something which is very closely linked to the European semester. If you are aware of it, every year Commission gives sets of recommendations to member states where we think that they need to improve the functioning of certain areas. And we give it very widely. It's not only linked to research and innovation, but it's everything which has to do with investment, with the quality of public administration, taxation, and all that. So this is something which will be linked there, because Commission gives very concrete recommendations for the member states where their research and innovation system needs to be adapted or changed. So if your country has recommendation in that area, it needs to be addressed by smart specialization. And the last two components, industrial transition and interregional collaboration, are again very new. And we would like really for regions to be able to see how is their region positioned currently and what they need to change. As I said, many regions in Europe are struggling with history of past industrial transition, as is the loss of certain industries which were either transferred somewhere or were no longer profitable, but they created a lot of jobs, a lot of employment in the regions. And we see that throughout Europe. It can be coal, it can be steel, it can be textile in the latest period, but it's also the upcoming transition, where we see that many regions we need to address what is coming, to really see what changes in the industries which they have in their territory are coming, because with the rise of robotization, automation, artificial intelligence, we see that many of the sectors will undergo really drastic changes. So to see how is the region prepared, how is the region capable of addressing these issues, and help the companies to catch up. And the last, international collaboration, very relevant for people like you. This is something which we see as a really weak point so far in the current generation of smart specialization strategies, because we think that there is an enormous potential in Europe to work much closer and to link capacities, capabilities of the regions, not only in a particular smart specialization area, but also in other areas like you are doing in the area of monitoring and evaluation. And more on that right now. As you know, basically ever since the first generation of smart specialization strategies was being drafted, regions started looking around to see what other regions are doing, what smart specialization areas they are selecting. We saw this initiative, which started with Vanguard initiative, where several regions merged their efforts and started developing common projects, and we really liked it. And hence we took the methodology of Vanguard and we decided to support it in a, I would say, broad commission initiative, where we are cooperating with several directorate generals for industry and growth, competitiveness, agriculture, energy, with Joint Research Center and others. We have currently, under the so-called smart specialization thematic platforms, more than 100 regions involved in 30 thematic partnerships, which are under 3 thematic platforms. One is for industrial modernization. That is the one where we have the highest number of partnerships, around 20 for the time being, very diverse, from bioeconomy to 3D printing or water management. Another platform is on energy, and the last one on agri-food, where we have 5 partnerships in each of them. There we really see regions linking their capacities and aligning their regional smart specialization strategies to be able to create common projects in the area of innovation. So the ultimate goal of these partnerships is to bring to the market new investment projects, to be able to bring new products or new services to the market. They are following a methodology which was developed by Vanguard Initiative, where this process is in a way divided in 5 stages. We, as the Commission, under the Smart Specialization platform, we currently support the Learn and Connect phase, and there is not much which is happening in the other 3, which is exactly a challenge we are facing. We see these regions cooperating from 2013, 2014, and very little concrete investment projects which are actually happening as a result of that cooperation. So we started asking ourselves questions. Why is this happening? How come that after 5, 6 years, even more of cooperation, we do not really see these projects happening? And what we understood is that as a nature, these projects, as innovative projects, are enormously risky. So there is not much appetite of actually going into them. On top of it, it's the coordination issue, where you are linking capacities of several regions across different member states with different national rules, with different rules on how to draw subsidies or grants, loans from EU-funded projects. So this is something which is enormously complex. The current regulation sort of thinks about it and has a provision for actual support of projects which are not in the given region, but it's not very much used and doesn't seem to be, I would say, the most practical way how to go about it. And last but not least, all these projects are really struggling with state aid. This is something which seems to be the last drop, why these projects are really not taking off. And this is something which we have decided to address because we really see that there is a need for it in the market. We have started in 2017 a pilot project, Interregional Cooperation in Innovation, where we have selected in a call several partnerships in different thematic areas, and since 2017 we are working with them to see how we can help them in development of these projects and how we can accelerate what they are already doing. We are giving them expert support from external experts in a number of areas they identified as their problematic areas, be it development of business plans or help with intellectual property right issues and others. We are also facilitating discussion with other parts of the Commission, and we are really trying to see how to help them in a way start this project and get to the concrete projects which could be presented to banking institutions or venture capitals institutions and all that. And we are of course using what we have learned in these pilot projects for the development of our new instrument. For the so-called component 5, which is being proposed under European territorial cooperation as one component of Interreg, where we have proposed a budget around 1 billion euros to be able to support these types of projects. Because, as I said, we really see that this is something which is necessary, which is missing in the current schemes of support which the Commission has. We will see whether it actually stays in Interreg. So far it seems that there will be a shift and that these innovation investments will move to the general support under the ERDF. But this is still under negotiations and we see how it develops in the next weeks. So what is our thinking about the new instrument? We would very much like to have this instrument under direct management by the Commission. Why is that? This is something which is quite a hot issue because majority of the cohesion funds are of course under the shared management, where Commission and the Member States share the responsibility for the funds. However, we think that this is not a really mode which is very operational in these cases. There are three main issues which we would like to address. One of them is really the coordination issue, where we think that putting this together with the Member States would be enormously difficult. And we think that since the coordination seems to be one of the problems, we need to be much faster. So if there is one coordinating body, the Commission, it will go much faster for projects, which needs to be in a way fast because they are innovative projects and they cannot wait with implementation years before all the arrangements are set up. We also want to ensure that there is a really strong alignment with other policies of the Commission and other programs like Horizon Europe or InvestEU, and we are already discussing with them how to do either common calls or sequential calls so that projects and in a way get support from Horizon and then additional support from us or vice versa and so on. And last but not least, with the direct management, we will address the issues of state aid, which in a way is not a problem if it's managed directly by the Commission. There it basically has the same rules as Horizon Europe, no state aid requirements which need to be addressed. So this is really something which is important for us to address. On the governance, we would like very much to do it in a consultative manner, meaning that we will launch a public consultation on priorities, which should come in the next weeks or months. If I'm not mistaken, the colleagues are preparing it to be launched before the summer. And after the consultation, we will have a dedicated expert group which will help us in a way manage the instrument and to see what are the priorities, what is the situation on the ground, and the group will act as a link between us and the Member States and the regions. So it will be composed by representatives of all the, I would say, quadruple helix, EU institutions, relevant stakeholders on the national and regional level, relevant stakeholders from academic or business sector and all that. We would like to have several calls during the life cycle of this instrument. We are so far thinking about very likely 3 rounds of calls to accept projects and different thematic priorities. But again, this is still subject of, in a way, further work, seeing also the outcomes of the consultation and work with the expert group. We will have 2 strands in this instrument. The first is really financial and advisory support for concrete innovative projects. This is something which we see more for partnerships or groups of regions which are already working for some time and they have reached a certain level of maturity. They have certain projects in the pipeline and they are looking for investments. So this will be really for support of concrete investment projects from the regions. The strand 2 is of a different nature. We want basically to address also regions we are not there yet, which do not have these projects developed, these common projects developed yet, but they would like to do so in the future. So there we will really look at the capacity of these regions and we will try to build this capacity together with them so that they can participate in the future calls in the Strand 1 projects. How do we want to do that? For Strand 2, we really want to check with the regions and see where is their position in different value chains, what are their strengths and opportunities in the regions, how is the cooperation working in the triple or quadruple helix, how the whole innovation ecosystem is set up in the region, and where it can be strengthened, where we can help them build the connections inside the region, but of course outside as well. We would like to do it through a number of possible tools. So as a one part of the project which we will be supporting is something which has to do with analytical support, helping the regions in a way understand where they are in different value chains, what is their position, how they can use the potential they have in their region to boost the position or upgrade their position in the value chains, and really to do a lot of this analytical work which we see is missing in a number of regions. So we would like to cooperate with a number of institutions which have enormous experience in this. We already starting some preparatory work with the World Bank, with the OECD and others to see what will be in a way the ideal way how to do the support through the analytical work. Another thing which we want to do is a lot of capacity building, because what we see in the regions which are already further along in the process is that they have enormous network. If you look at really well-developed, well-performing regions in Europe, they have their contact list, they know exactly whom to call, they have enormously good overview on what is happening in different European regions in their sectors, and they have a capacity inside the region of a very strong network which is being built for years, I would say. So this is something which we want to help build also in the regions which do not have that, so that we can in a way facilitate these contacts and capacity building, doing a lot of, I would say, Erasmus type of activities, of exchanges where we would like regions to cooperate, and we would like to facilitate exchanges between less and more developed innovation regions so that people can see how things are done elsewhere and to build these capacities and contacts. And last but not least, we think that you learn the best if you are doing something. So we would like to have also a part of this instrument which will be supporting concrete innovation projects. And there we would be in a way duplicating a little bit what we are doing under Strand 1 for these concrete projects, but with, I would say, much lighter criteria. So we would not request that many regions participating, but we would be happy if it's a cooperation between 2 member states and so on. So this is something as a training field or training ground for regions to get to try it, so that in the future they can successfully do it on a larger scales. And that's it. I will be happy to hear your questions if you have any.
Yes, thank you, Jitka, for your input. And now we are happy to see your questions, if there are any questions to this really, really eye-opening presentation. Yeah, somebody are applauding by setting their status to applause. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Set your status to raise your hand, and then I can give you an open microphone. Otherwise, please type your question in the chat. And if there are not really crucial questions, I don't see any hands. I don't see any questions. But oh yeah, multiple attendees are typing.
I saw a lot of questions whether the presentation can be shared, so I think we agree that it's possible, and I think you will deal with that, I hope.
Yeah, sure. Christopher has a presentation, and if it's okay for you, then the presentation, of course, can be shared so that the participants can refer to it later on and get the extract right out of it.
Of course.
So, question from Darko. Are there any delays of EU funding envisaged because of COVID-19 situation, regarding the current situation about COVID-19? So, are there any delays in the funding process?
in the funding process in the current period or in the preparation of the future? Because these are two different questions. As regards the current period, you know that the Commission actually adopted several modifications in the Common Provision Regulation, which allow the regions to use almost all the remaining European funds to address the COVID-19 crisis. So there is now a possibility to finance everything in relation to COVID, health, infrastructure, in particular, but also many of the activities which should in a way address I would say, crisis which will come after the COVID crisis as such diminishes or gets smaller, because the impact on economy is enormous. So there is a lot of changes being done so that the regions and member states can now support, in a way, I would say, the recovery process and use the funds with massive flexibility to do so now. As regards the preparation of the future, there, I think, interestingly, I see still things moving. We are getting draft operational programs and all that. What has slowed down a little bit is the negotiation on the regulation with the Council and the Parliament. And because I think everybody is now quite busy dealing with the current situation. So I cannot really say. I think so far we are still in the timeline which was foreseen, but we will see how the situation develops in the next weeks. And
okay, thank you for answering the question. And so there are a couple of more questions written in the chat. Too many questions to answer right now. We have 5 minutes delay already in our time schedule. And so this is why I'm planning to hand over the presentation to Ricard. First question, Christopher, are you here? No, Christopher is not here. But Ricard, are you here? Where are you? There are you. Ricard, I make you a presenter? Hopefully. No.